Welcome to Rambam. We're doing the laws of Eruv, which is a rabbinic law about
No text.
courtyards, alleyways that are joined together.
Rabbi.
No text, Father.
Oh, sorry?
No text.
Koi?
There's no text.
Oh, I didn't put it up yet. That's why.
Never mind.
Yeah, I didn't. Just giving a preview or an overview just to we started it yesterday, right? So to carry on Shabbos from one private domain to another private domain, biblically is allowed. From private to public is not. Public to private, or within the public domain. What constitutes public domain, right, is not too many places are really considered a public domain. In a regular street isn't, but rabbinically it is. And so rabbinically, they also said that from one private domain, if you're sharing a courtyard, many houses sharing a courtyard, also you need to then to create a oneness out of it, to make it into a oneness, and that's people sharing together with food and so on, as we've learned. An alleyway, right, in the back of houses, you have today even, you have common alleyway that is shared by many houses. So that common alleyway that goes to a public domain also rabbinically has to create an eruv, to create a commonality between the people sharing food, the way it's done, the blessing and so on, that gives them then the right that they can carry in that common area. That's what we're going to go into today, is about the alleyway. Let's go. Rambam, Hilchos Eruvin, chapter 5. Following rules apply when the inhabitants of a lane join in a business partnership with regard to a particular food. They have bought wine, oil, honey, or the like for sale, right? So they're joining in a partnership. They need not establish any shituf for the sake of carrying on Shabbos. Instead, they may rely on the partnership they've established for the business reasons. So because there's a partnership, right? The whole idea is partnership, so therefore you're making it into a private domain. That's the idea. And since there's a business partnership with the people who are they all happen to live in the same picture here. No. All in the same alleyway, lane. And this is sufficient, right? Because their partnership is with regard to food. They haven't specifically put aside this food for the partnership that gives them permission to use the alleyway, the lane, right? So when does this leniency apply? Because it's a leniency because it wasn't specified for this purpose, right? When their business partnership involves one type of produce and this produce is stored in a single container. But if their partnership is such as one possesses wine and the other oil, right? They have many different things that they're a partner in. or they both possess wine but hold in two different containers, then they're required to establish a shituv for the sake of Shabbos. So now they have to make a partner. Shituv is a partnership for the sake of Shabbos, right? They only had one barrel of wine that they're sharing together, and it's held in one place, so then that would be sufficient. Unlikely, but again, it's giving us a parameter of the law, right? If one of the inhabitants of the lane asks another for wine or oil before Shabbos, and the latter refuses to give him, the shituf is nullified. Obviously, they're not partners. Rationale is that the individual revealed that his intent was that they are not all to be considered partners who do not object to each other's use of combined sources. Right. When one of the inhabitants of the lane who usually protects his sheep fails to do so, the inhabitants of the lane may enter his home and take a share for the shituv, for the partnership, against his will, because he usually does it. So I don't think this means a partnership in business here. It just means a partnership in the of the food that everybody contributes to make them partners in the lane, right? That they can carry on Shabbos. So since he's always done it, he now can be against his will. If one of the inhabitants of the lane refuses to join the other Vishita, he may be compelled to do so. Who can compel him is the court. Right. And it's the court that has to do it as opposed to themselves. They can't compel him. The court has to compel him. Okay. Great. When one of the inhabitants of the lane owns a storeroom of wine, oil, or the like, he may grant a small share to all the inhabitants of the lane and establish a shituf on their behalf. So, right. So one person can do it on behalf of everybody. He can take part of his storeroom that has wine or whatever else and set that aside as a partnership with everybody on the lane. So therefore it gives them the permission now that they can carry in the lane. The Jewish was acceptable even though he did not separate or designate the wine he granted them, but rather left it mixed together with the remainder in the storeroom. So he didn't separate it, right? That's a leniency, seemingly. But he did separate it. In other words, he did, you know, acknowledge that this particular barrel, right? When the inhabitants of the courtyard that has two entrances, each leading to a different lane, so they're all in one courtyard, but I guess courtyard is in the center, houses are facing, so there's a lane on this side and a lane on this side, different lanes, right? To different entrances to the lane. They are forbidden to bring articles to and from the second lane. You can't bring it back from one lane to the other because they're different lanes. Therefore, if a person set aside food for shituf, grants a portion to all the inhabitants of the lane, and establishes a shituf on their behalf, he must notify the inhabitants of that courtyard, for they must make conscious decision to join the shituf, since this is not necessarily to their benefit, because it's possible that they desire to join the shituf with the inhabitants of the other lane and not with this one. So usually we have a general principle that if someone is doing something on your behalf and it's for your benefit, then you don't need to acknowledge it, right? You don't need, so someone, we learned this yesterday in yesterday's class, that someone took like the barrel, like previously, someone took the barrel of wine and put it aside for everybody that is on the lane with him, right? Excuse me. So that's a benefit for everybody. So you don't even have to tell them. I mean, they don't have to have conscious mindfulness of it before Shabbos. He has to tell them so they could carry there, right? But he doesn't have to tell them in order that they are mindful of it. But over here, there's two lanes, and maybe the person wants to go and be a partner in the second lane, not the first lane. So this guy went and put aside for him, for everybody in the courtyard, but he doesn't want it. Remember the courtyard, so you can carry in the courtyard, but maybe he wants to use the second lane, and not the first lane. So therefore, it might not be a benefit for him because you can't use both. You're using one. Seemingly, you can't use both. That's the way I understand it here. So it's not a benefit for him. So therefore, he has to be conscious of it before Shabbos and accept it, that this person did it on his behalf, and therefore he is now going to use that lane instead of possibly the other lane. Number 5, a person's wife may participate in the Erev on his behalf without his knowledge, provided he does not intend to cause his neighbors to be forbidden to carry. Why would he want to do that? All right. Yeah. Bit complicated here. So there's a story in the Talmud of a non-Jewish officer lived in the same courtyard as Jews, and he refused to rent. They asked him to, they wanted to rent from him, right? The allowance to use the courtyard, and he wouldn't. Listen, we know what an anti-Semite is, and that guy wasn't the first, and hasn't been the last. So they didn't know what to do. So they went to Reb Zera. Reb Zera said, go to his wife and his wife can rent it out without his knowledge. So they did. Um, Here, though, so there's a debate. Other commentators don't agree with the Rambam over here. Because here, if he wants to do it against the will, that others shouldn't have for whatever reason. However, she may join the Erev on his behalf, nor if he does not intend to cause her cause them to be forbidden to carry. However, she may not join an Erev on his behalf, nor she may join the Shituf on his behalf unless he consents. So it can't be something against his will. Again, there's a debate about that. This what is meant intend to cause them to be forbidden to carry that he says, I will not join the Erev or the Shituf with them. So if he is against it, then the wife can't. If he hasn't expressed any being against it. I'm not exactly clear on this because we see that if he's already given to it, so then you could even compel him afterwards. Once he started giving food towards it, then you can compel him. Over here, if he doesn't want to start at all, so it seems like you can't compel. Okay, the following rules apply. When the courtyard opens up, the two lanes and the inhabitants of the courtyard have established a shituf, the inhabitants of one of the lanes. So there's a partnership in one of the lanes, right? But there are two lanes, not in the second one. If they had originally established sheet with one type of produce, even if produce in the shituf was consumed entirely, one may establish a second shituf and grant them a portion. There's no need to inform them of them a second time. Aha. So the food, by the way, can't be eaten, right? Because in the food being brought together in one place, that's what makes you a partner, right? It's like, I have a barrel of, alcohol over here, right? And we're partners in it. Well, we're partners in it, but if it's gone, we have no partnership left because in something we are a partner. I mean, on paper, you might be partners, but that's not over here. It means you're a partner in something. So what happened if you ate the food, right? You had a bunch of challah and the food got eaten. So you could make another shituf, another partnership with food, or someone can establish it. You don't have to let them know because the first one, they already are aware of it. So it's not necessary to make them aware of it. Just what's necessary is to make it. If they have established the shituf with two types of produce, and the amount of food was reduced from the minimum requirement, one may add to it and grant the others a share. There's no need to inform them. If the produce is consumed entirely, one may establish a second shituf and grant them a portion, however necessary to inform them. Oh, so if it was the first one was eaten. But now you want to make one that's for two, or both. Oh, 1 second. So you're making the shituf with two products, not one, but it was reduced. You can add to it. You don't have to inform them. But if it was entirely consumed, not just lacking, you can make a second shituf and grant them a portion, but it's necessary to inform them why. Because it's two, usually you make it with one, and therefore you need consent. Not exactly clear why, but you need. If the number of inhabitants in the courtyard is increased, one may grant the newcomer a portion of the shituf, but one must notify them, right? Because it's all new. Okay, I have a meeting I have to run to, so I can't continue.
Thank you,
Thank you
Rafa.
very much.
Thank you.
God bless you all.